Hi guys, I hope that I'm live, but I'm not sure. So if I am live, can you please let me know? Because I've just tried to start streaming on Facebook using Zoom. So I'm a little bit lost. So if you can help me out, that would be great. Um, so why am I live today? Well, let me just try to go live on Instagram, just see how long that's going to take. As you can see, I'm a little bit rusty. Hello, everyone. I haven't been live for a while. I'm a bit rusty on lives. It's been quite a few weeks, but I wanted to check in and kind of just have a chat about how everyone is doing, the energies that I'm feeling around. And please bear in mind, guys, there's no way I can see any of your comments. So if you're writing me, I'm really sorry because I'm new to this technology stuff. But I wanted to check in because it had been a while. And I was really hesitating to come live, but it's almost like I was being pushed because I have some things I would like to share. And as you know, hey Laura from Palladian Healer. Hi, hey Louise, Martin. So as I was saying, I have a few things I wanted to share, and I would like to caveat everything that I say that this is my own opinion through my own lens. It's my truth and I can be wrong. So I really, really wanted to make this point. But it's almost like I have been pushed to say this because I really feel something is about to happen. Lots is happening if we're on planet Earth right now, but something even deeper. And again, I'm not telling you that you need to believe me. If any of you know human design, which I do now, I have the gate of mystery and I also have the gate of logic. It's like a channel in the up in the crown, and basically I'm here to channel occult truths. Now, it just doesn't mean universal truths for the whole of mankind. It's my truth, and I'm just choosing to share it. So I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to tell you this is definitely going to happen. But I kind of feel I would like to kind of go on my own record for this, because I've noticed some of the stuff that I've said a few months ago, they're happening now. And so this is why I'm being called to come on and share stuff that I feel is going to play out in the collective. Now, I have to say, I'm feeling quite scared about sharing this stuff because it's not great stuff and I don't want to fearmonger. But I feel like if we're aware of certain energies, and I can't shut up about it because I have tried to articulate how to say this stuff for the last week and I just can't ignore it anymore. So I'm going to go about speaking about just macro events that I'm seeing. And I had spoken in March about the karma of the US. And we have seen huge implications of the karma of the US as it's playing out. And the US is really important right now because what happens in the US is going to have reverberations throughout the world. Again, please don't take what I'm saying as gospel. It's just my own opinion. Okay, some of the stuff could be super way out, but I think those of you who know me, I'm pretty way out by now. And for a lot of this stuff, I really hope I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong about it if that's the case. Okay, so we know that we're in the period between eclipses, okay? And again, I'm not an astrologist. I do some aspects of astrology, but my main thing is about reading energies. And I feel like a pressure rising in my throat and I have this anxiety. And what this is coming across as to me about meaning is we already know that there's huge polarity in the world. We know that as humanity, we're on the cusp of huge change. We're seeing it everywhere. If you want to go really deep into polarity, you know, we've heard about the fight between light and dark. And, you know, from an ascended perspective, there is no such thing as light and dark. However, we are not in that ascended perspective. A lot of people call it 5D. We are not there yet. We are transitioning. We're on a bridge. Some of us have some of that 5D consciousness, but we can't run away from the fact that we're living on planet Earth, and we're really seeing polarity play out in all the very many nasty ways it's playing out at the moment. Now, if we see about the karma of the US, which is a little bit about what I would like to go into, the karma of the US and a lot of the foundations of the US and a lot of the cracks in this foundation are now coming out into the surface. And yes, there have been riots before, hundreds of years ago, 99 years ago, in the 60s with Martin Luther King. We all know about that. And that definitely pushed us forward. I'm speaking about race relations at the moment. It pushed us forward. So it was a step in the right direction, but it was nowhere near as far. Where we are now is that we currently have an administration. Now, I'm not American. I don't particularly like Trump, but I'm not going to make it a partisan thing. It doesn't matter if I like Trump or not. I do acknowledge he's done some good things with saving the children, for example, which I'm quite passionate about. And those who know about what's happening with children and child trafficking, that's definitely a step in the right direction. There are other aspects of his personality I don't personally like, but again, it's not my business. But I think it's everyone's business what is happening in the world right now, and it's playing out in the United States. Okay, so we know that Donald Trump has his birthday coming up. We also know that the United States has its birthday coming up. We also know that we're in the period of eclipses, 3 eclipses in a month, which is pretty rare. It hasn't happened for many, many, many years. So I spoke about this particular thing I'm going to share with my mom earlier this year. And the reason it's coming up now is because I'm feeling it even more acutely. So I was telling my mom earlier in January that I have a really bad feeling about Donald Trump, not about him because we know what he's like anyway, but actually about himself, his safety, his physicality. And I did say that I don't feel like he's gonna last long. Now, I feel really, really, really bad to say this. And I pushed it under the carpet because I don't wish anyone ill will. And I definitely don't wish death upon anyone. But it's just been weighing on my mind that I can't ignore it now. So I'm just gonna come out and say it, my opinion, okay? I have a feeling he's gonna be assassinated. There's gonna be something that happens. I really hope I'm wrong about it. Yeah, I know it's pretty shocking. And I also had a feeling that he's gonna be one of the last US presidents, the way we know the United States as it is. This is a huge fucking statement. I have goosebumps just saying it. I can be wrong. I don't ask you to believe me. That's just a feeling. And I also see the riots that we're seeing at the moment start of something much, much deeper. I don't see them stopping. I see all of the inequalities that are coming up now with the riots filtering deeper into society on all levels. And it's starting in the US, but it's not it's not confined to the US. So what does this mean? I also saw certain parts of the US, we saw it in the voting as well. There's a lot of, there was a lot of bipartisan kind of arguments in the US. But some states, I feel, especially the richer states in the United States, I have a feeling they're going to want to secede. I can't tell you the timelines for this. I really don't know. And this is so far out, I'm even scared to talk about it. But hey, you can call me the crazy lunatic. I'm okay with it. So yes, does this mean it's a breakup of the United States? I don't know. But I do see like each state taking a stand for itself, because this unity, the way it was idealized when the founding fathers created the United States, it's clear that it's far from a union. And this is happening in the United Kingdom as well. So again, as I'm saying, it's not just in the US. The reasons that I feel it's coming up now and the way that things are playing out, especially now the things are coming to a head like a pressure cooker kind of feeling, it's because people's health has been put on the line. I'm going to try very hard not to go into my own theories about that. It is what it is. You can think about whatever is happening in the world and make your own decisions about it. And so people have been indoors. Like apparently 14 million people in the US have lost their jobs. This is not just in the US, it's happened everywhere. And there's been this growing discontent. There's been a fear, like survival, base chakra fears. I spoke about this as well in March. The very survival instincts that are being really being questioned at the moment. So am I going to be able to feed my family? I don't have a job. I'm afraid for my life. So with these fears that have been basically exacerbated, also being, under this kind of broad blanket of fear, having a lot of our personal freedoms curtailed, we then have the race riots. On top of that, this is again my personal opinion, so don't go out and buy shares or stuff depending on what I say, but I do see that government is going to have to change. We talk about Republican and Democrat, and in the UK as well, we speak about, the conservatives. And so that we speak about the Tories and the left, and I just don't think that we're seeing it in the right way. This one or the other, this, two-party system, I think we're going to be seeing the beginning of the end of that. I know this is super fucking way out, so I know this. I know how this sounds. I'm just telling you how I get it. Okay, so when people ask me, so what do you think is going to happen if it's not the Republican or the Democrats? I was like, this is going way above Republican and Democrat stuff. And when people say, well, what do you think government is going to look like? I don't have all the answers. All I can say is not going to look like it is now. So that's pretty huge, right? So if the government structures are going to change, I also believe economic structures are going to change. Justice structures are going to change. The financial markets are going to change. Everything is going to change because it has to. So, this whole polarity thing is again played out in politics, and it's just not about one or the other, light or dark. It's playing out everywhere. And so when I say, okay, the stock market, what we think is AAA is not going to be AAA anymore, for example. What we think as bellwethers are not going to be bellwethers anymore. What we think are safe assets are not going to be safe assets anymore, because it's built on a system that perpetuates the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer, and the divide is just increasing. By the way, I've been a capitalist my whole life, so I'm not saying one system is better than the other. I'm just saying this is what I see. And I do think economic structures, financial markets are going to collapse. Like, there's just no other way for me to say it. And when I say collapse, it's like what we think is safe is not safe anymore, because we can already see that the net beneficiaries of the current crisis have been like a handful of companies, right? People who have benefited from us being in lockdown. I'm going to try very hard not to name any names, but you can Google them, literally Google them. So who have benefited, people who are, who are basically helping logistics and deliveries, and people who are controlling media, things like this. This is going to have to change. So we're also with the North Node, collective North Node in Gemini, which is about, information, the collective versus super long travel. So in terms of how do I see some global trends, it's going to be more about the community. It's going to be about going back to the roots, going back to what is important. If we see what has been money spent on in the last couple of months, it's been about food, huge stuff about food, nutrition, our health, right? Logistics. So these are the, let's say, the areas, the sectors that I feel are going to have money coming into them. So food, how we get our food, how we process food, the green revolution, right? Everything to do with green technology. Technology is another thing. There's a lot more in technology that we don't even know about. A lot of this technology, the powers that be, governments have known about for at least 60 years. I believe this is going to be coming out now. A lot to do with energy and resources. Fossil fuels didn't really need to be used for so long. I believe that's going to come out too. I know I'm not the only one who believes that. So we've spoken about the US. We've spoken about Donald Trump, some general trends. We've spoken about how the US is a microcosm of what is going to happen in the larger world. It is going to be about not being able to hide things under the crack. It is going to be about not ignoring huge parts of society all around the world. And again, this is not to blame. This is about, for me, about understanding that there have been huge mistakes that have been made, knowingly or unknowingly. A lot of the time, I would say it's knowingly. But I think the time of pushing it under the carpet has really come to an end. And one of the reasons that I believe we're in our current state of like the temperature rising globally, and I don't think this is going to be calming down, by the way, definitely not between now and the end of the year. I think there's a general rise in temperament, a rise in uncertainty, and this triggers our base human survival instincts. So this is what I believe is coming up right now. Yes, there's, we can go into like all the political movements and the puppets behind them. By the way, I do think that there is such a thing as puppet masters. I do believe that that's in play right now. And Trump is just like a little pawn in a much bigger game. the whole Republican Democrat thing is just also a sideshow. And I believe when people talk about this veil, the veil thinning, I think between now and 3 years, the world is going to be very different from how it is now. And I believe between now and 6 months, there's a lot more to happen. And I have to say it because I don't want to just like lie for the sake of making it sound everything is fine, because I don't believe everything is fine. It doesn't mean we're all gonna die. It doesn't believe there's like, you know, riots everywhere, although in some places there will be riots. But I do sense the global temperature of humanity rising. And I think the whole way that we are seeing countries, diplomacy, international associations, and governmental associations. Yes, there will be some of those that remain, but I think there's going to be really not isolationism, but more a look into our own communities. Just because what has this big virus pandemic, what has it shown us? That actually we need to focus on community, what is around us. Bye, Laura, see you later. So again, you're probably going to say, because I can already hear people's thoughts coming through, they're like, yeah, these are super broad stroke themes and you're not really telling us something concrete. Well, I can't tell you something I don't see in detail. I can only tell you broad strokes and themes of what I'm feeling. I'm not going to go into stuff that I don't see. Like, I can't just create a structure out of nowhere, because I also believe that we are creating the structure as we go along. But certain broad strokes, for example, like the karma of the US, which then implicates into global karma. And we are in like a karmatic cycle at this moment of karma being dissolved. Are we going to learn from it? Or is the karma going to teach us very heavy lessons? So this heaviness that I'm feeling, it's almost like, okay, humanity, you've been through this before. Time is cyclical, you know, time is not linear. Things that have happened before, frequencies of that are happening again. It's almost like we're being asked, what are you going to do with this now? And this is why I believe we're in like a collective reckoning, because, you know, if we talk about timeline jumping and quantum timelines, that everything is already decided, and then multiple timelines of choice, that is all true. But as a collective, what are we going to choose this time around, right? I've already spoken about my feelings about being in a similar frequency of the collapse of Atlantis. And I've talked about a lot of parallels between the United States and this collapse of Atlantis. I do believe we're in that timeline of the collapse of Atlantis. It doesn't mean we're repeating the same mistakes. It's like we're in the same kind of energy. People who are into energetics, and a lot of you are, will understand this, that time, the way that we have been living it, has always been thought of as linear. However, with quantum physics and a lot of, you can call it conspiracy theories, which I don't believe are conspiracies, because I really do believe time is an illusion, and what has happened before and what will happen is very much also happening in the present moment. So we are in charge of our collective destinies. And so what is the point of me sharing all of this information? it's basically to prepare ourselves for rocky rides ahead. It's for understanding that what is playing out now, we've all chosen to be on this earth at this time for a reason. I'm sure you've heard a lot of this before as well. I believe our role is to do our own part in this big play where we are, in my hope, fighting for justice, for equality, for transparency, for a more equitable sharing of resources. This is not communism, guys. This is just common humanity. And I believe a lot of us, through timelines and through history and through being victors and losers, have kind of lost the plot because we're so much in our own little cubby holes. And now we're being forced, like the US is being forced right now, to look at itself and what has been pushed on the carpet for so long. It can no longer happen like that anymore. You know, people have told me, for example, that, oh, in the 60s, this was already started and we didn't go anywhere. I've chatted with a lot of my back friends and they're like, well, you know, we've been here before and nothing happened. Yes, and I see where you're coming from with that. I also see that something fundamentally behind the energetics and the global climate, whether it's engineered or not, that's a totally separate discussion. There are some aspects of engineering to this. But the fact is, this is the situation. Now, what are we going to do with this situation as it is? What is our collective and personal responsibility in this time? And for me, it's about fostering unity. It's fostering channels of communication, North Node in Gemini. It's fostering focus on community, North Node in Gemini. And it's also recognizing that we need to question everything. I think it's very clear to see from the media, from the news, from everything that is happening around us, that actually no one knows what's going on. If anyone has a pulse on like a truth, I would not believe you. I myself don't know fully what's going on. And, you know, it's not like I'm like the Oracle at Delphi. However, there are certain aspects of certain things that I hear and see that appear to me to be true. Then there's others that say completely the opposite, and that can also be true. So right now, to find an ultimate truth, it's really difficult. But there's some really broad stroke humanitarian, I think, universal truths, and that every single human living on this planet deserves to be treated with respect. Every single human on this planet deserves the same opportunities, that the 1% doesn't deserve to have 99% of the resources of the world. I think that's just common sense to anyone. And so this timeline that we're getting to in history, I think it is about this: what are we going to do as humanity going forward? And it cannot continue the way it has been. And I know I've said some pretty way out things, and I would love to be wrong, really, especially about Trump, especially about, you know, potential secession of certain states, and that will also happen in the United Kingdom, by the way. The United Kingdom is not smelling of roses here. It's happening everywhere, throughout Europe, like everywhere. You know, we all know about the history of colonization, about the fall and rise of empires. So for me, the empire of the United States, as we have seen it, for me, it's declining. So yes, that is what I wanted to share. I'm just going to check. What do you think about the new King John? This is from Laura. Yeah, that is a subject for another video. That's a lot to do with, like, the cabal and the powers that be. And I do believe there is something to that. I'm going to speak about the new king thing on another video. But at the moment, I wanted to speak about and focus about the United States, what's happening in the United States, because that is, for me, a catalyst for the rest of the world. What happens in the United States is going to have repercussions globally. Also because most of our economies have been based on the dollar. So I also believe the peg of the US dollar is going to come off for most countries. If it's not going to, then those economies are going to go down. Because you can't just keep printing money with nothing. And this is what most economies and the US has been doing, just printing money, printing money, printing money. And you can't just print money with nothing to back it up. So I do believe we're probably going to go into huge inflationary environment. Yes, because I don't see a choice, right? And I do believe there's going to be a flight to real assets. So gold, silver, precious metals. I do believe also that as we focus on communities, people are going to be working more from home. I think we've seen that a lot of that is possible in the last 2 or 3 months. So what does that mean? Commercial real estate is probably going to go down. What does that mean? The way people make money is changing. So what are the net positives? Again, we've talked about food, nutrition. Also, people's entire identities are going to change, right? Because this whole movement away from the corporation taking care of me, the government taking care of me going to a paid 9-to-5 job, 401ks, our pensions, all of that, it's all coming up to be questioned right now. So I do believe people who do my kind of work, and I'm not saying come to me, by the way, but I do believe people in the self-help, in the self-identity. Who are we really? What are my gifts? How do I fit in a dissolving reality? Because that's what we're in at the moment, a dissolving reality. I believe there's going to be more demand for people who focus on what are your innate gifts to share with the world, and who am I without all the structures around me? Who am I without this like super high paid job? Who am I without the hierarchy? Who am I in my essence, and what do I have to bring to this earth? What do I have to contribute? And I believe these are the things that we're going to be asking going forward. So yeah, I don't know if there's any more questions, because again, I can't really see my Facebook because I'm using new technology that I am not very good with using. But yeah, so thank you for everyone who has been listening to me riff for, I don't know, the last while. And again, you can take what I'm saying is purely like fiction, antics of like a mad woman. And honestly, like, that's why I was so afraid to share it, because it does sound completely mad. And I'm not basing it on a lot of facts. I'm basing it on my feelings, my psychic intuition, which can be wrong, from what I see happening in the world, which everyone can see. But again, we all view things from different prisms. And I have been feeling this sense of disquiet rising within me. And I know that a lot of what I'm saying is not going to be popular. But as those of you who know me know, I've gone past that. I also have a lot of Lilith in my chart, which is like just speaking my truth, and usually very contrarian. And I'm just saying it as I see it. You don't have to believe me. You can think I'm a complete nutcase. I'll still respect you. So with that, my loves, thank you so much for listening to me. And I look forward to connecting with you later. Bye.